All right, this is actually over a year's worth of hand splitting here since we started our channel. I'm guessing this is probably around 16 months or so of hand splitting footage altogether. You remember this, Carter?
Yep.
So me and Carter are kind of going to talk here about the hand splitting and where we were and what kind of wood it was. Like that there, for instance, is maple. And I was just kind of making a video kind of joking because so many guys were telling me I was going to break myself down hand splitting and I needed to get a log splitter and all this stuff. So there was the 100 round challenge. You remember that?
Yep.
That was a lot of work getting those rounds. Yeah, I mean, my mom's place was right down the road from there, and I kind of went over there and rested a little bit, got something to drink, talked to her a little bit, and told her what I was doing. But getting all those rounds, they wasn't that easy to get to. They were actually kind of back behind me there where it looks kind of, you can see all those trees and stuff. They was kind of down in there. And so I was having to cut them. And I plan to attempt this again, this 100 round challenge. Something I noticed, and even while I was doing it, I was kind of thinking it. I had split a lot of those rounds more than once. And if I would just went one time on them, I think I would have got it because I was pretty close. But I'll be honest with you, that right there took it out of me. I was around 265 pounds right there. Here lately, what you've been seeing me is around 280 pounds, which is even heavier. But now I'm down to around this weight again, around that weight again. So I'm glad of that, and I can feel a difference, and I want to keep getting down. Don't think I'll get down too low, honestly. I'd have to lose a lot of muscle to get down real low. I'll probably maybe 230, 240. Something like that is what I'm aiming for. There's some cherry. You remember Cheryl's place?
Yeah.
We got a lot of wood from there. She had some big cherry rounds from there. I had some guys asking me if I was going to mill some of that and, turn it into lumber. It would have made some beautiful lumber. I agree, but no, I ended up not doing that and just turned it into firewood. That's usually what I do. I had a chainsaw mill before and used it a little bit. I didn't use it a whole lot, but...
That's the 1 round challenge, right?
Yeah, that was the 1 round challenge before I even made the 1 round challenge. What I was doing there was just seeing how fast I could split that big piece of cherry wood, and it made so much firewood. There was a time, believe it or not, I think it was when I had that Ford F-150, which had a 6-foot bed on it. Well, my neighbor over here had a tree that had been down for a while, and it was a pretty big tree around, maybe around 3 foot wide or so. Maybe bigger, but I cut 3 rounds off of that and split those 3 rounds, and those three rounds alone filled up an entire truck bed, a 6-foot truck bed, and I took it and sold it. And so that shows you the big rounds can make a lot of wood. Three rounds made right around a face cord of firewood, which is pretty impressive. When you get smaller rounds like that right there, it takes so much more, you see. Like those rounds right there may make 4 to 5 pieces of wood, maybe 6 or so. But the bigger rounds, you can get 30 pieces of wood, 40 pieces of wood, maybe even more than that out of some of the bigger rounds. But I sold that for $200. I remember a guy commenting on that video and saying something, there's no way you're going to sell that for $200 or something of that nature. And actually, the day I made that video, after I loaded it, we went straight and sold it. You remember that?
No.
You may not remember that exact delivery, but we loaded it up and went straight and sold it that day. That's usually what I do is once I load it, I don't want to keep it in my truck. I take it on and sell it. So usually when you see me splitting, I've already got somebody that's wanting that wood, or maybe more than one person, maybe a few people or more. And so I'm getting that wood ready for a reason. There's some maple. I remember that day. That's hard to believe looking at that video right there. I think that was almost a year ago now. You see the leaves are off the tree, so that looks like it was either winter or fall. I'm guessing fall, and now here we are in the fall again. So this YouTube thing is really just kind of showing how fast time goes, because when I look at some of these videos and I remember us doing these jobs and being at these places and splitting the wood and everything, when I look at how long ago it was, it makes me think, wow, that doesn't really feel like it's been, 16 months ago now, or a year ago now already. It shows you how fast time flies.
I remember that video.
You remember that one?
Yeah, it was right there in our front yard.
That's in our front yard there. Our neighbors had a big, it wasn't even a tree, but it was almost the size of a tree. If you've seen maple, sometimes they'll split out into a few different trunks or so to where they look like, separate trees even almost. And they're really big, and that's what that is. That looks like a whole tree if you look at it, the stump or those rounds. And this is an example of some pretty big rounds too here. And as you can see, they got a lot of wood in them. I like how maple splits pretty well. It can be tough, but it's not like oak. Once it splits, it splits. It falls, it just kind of pops apart. Whereas oak, when you split it, sometimes it'll do that. But lots of times when you split oak, the fibers hold it. Looks like there's some more maple. That's maple right there, I believe. Yep. So that's at the 200-acre woods with that double bit, and that was a double bit that the head flew off on me. And I'm so thankful I didn't have Carter with me then. Thank goodness he wasn't with me, because that head, it was, I wrote projectile because that's pretty much what it was. That head launched off of there. It flew so fast, I didn't even see where it went when it happened. I just felt it, I felt the break happen. And it is a scary break, especially when you're swinging that hard with a double bit like that, because if it hits you, there's no good way it can hit you. I'm sure everybody knows that.
Dad, did that happen in this video right here?
The long version of this video right here, yeah, this is a short of it. So that's a short. And as I mentioned, these shorts right here, I've got like close to 30 minutes of these hand splitting shorts, and I've got lots of more shorts as well that I didn't add in here, like the down the middles and stuff. I may make a video on those as well. I think we're close to 60 down the middle shorts, and I really enjoy those. I've done so many types of wood around here. I want to, since I'm about to be traveling, Lord willing, around the United States, I'm hoping that other people I can reach out, because I've already talked to some people, and I get guys all the time saying, I'd like to see you try that with this wood and this wood. Well, I would like to try that as well. I'm not saying at all that I'll split it in under a minute or split it at all even, but believe me, I'm curious too. I like to experiment with the different wood types. So if you're in the United States and everything, and you've got wood, even if you've got a lot of firewood you need split, say you've got like 2 cords of wood you need split, I'll come over and split it for you, or split it with you if you want me to, Lord willing, when I'm in that truck and I've got free time. I've got to figure out the schedule on that. But sometimes when I see those guys in the videos that I've watched, because I've researched it, they'll be in other states, and they'll have a day off or two in another state, because their next order, they're not able to come home in that time. So they'll stay in that state. Well, if I have to end up doing that, and I'm sure I probably will, at least the first year, and maybe longer even, but then you've got wood in that state and you're available and everything, I'll be glad to come over and split it for you. I just have to figure out how to work that out with people. You can reach out to me on here, or I don't mind to give people my number. There's quite a few different people I've talked to on YouTube, and they have my number, and then I've texted and emailed and stuff, and I enjoy that part about it. But yeah, I'd love to try different types of wood and see how they do. There's some more maple here.
I like maple.
So mainly around here, what I've split lots of oak, more than anything, probably oak. Lots of locust, especially my first year. Maple, cherry, love splitting cherry. Some pine, not a whole lot of pine. Poplar, walnut, or black walnut. Trying to think what else. Hickory, I think I've split ash before. I've split sycamore and elm, the two worst by far I've ever done are sycamore and elm. And I've split loads of sycamore, when it was somewhat seasoned. It wasn't even seasoned then. Me and my brother did it, and it was still hard to split. It was a rough day. But now I've split it before when it was seasoned, and it split pretty easily. About like any other average wood, it wasn't too hard.
I remember that video.
You remember that? So those big pines right there, those big pine rounds, came from a job that I did at these apartments in Powell County, which is a county over from us. And it was a really sketchy job, but I was able to get a lot of wood from that, and didn't even need that pine really for as far as for firewood, but I did end up selling most of that pine, if I'm not mistaken. I kind of mixed it in. Actually, here recently, I sold a lot of that with some oak to a guy right down the road from here. We sold 2 full cords, I think, to him, didn't we?
Pretty sure.
I think we sold around 2 full cords to the man. But as you can see, I was happy to get it just for the hand splitting. As I said before, even if I don't burn wood myself, lots of the wood that you see me doing is to sell to other people. But sometimes I like hand splitting just to hand split. It's a different type of physical labor. I've never done nothing like it. Carter's been doing it now for a little while. This was his first year really starting, and I'm planning to get him a Fiskars, a smaller one. I think it's called an X27 maybe.
I want one for Christmas.
Or X17, or not X27. See, now I've used mine's the super splitting axe. I think the X27 is the same pretty much as a super splitting axe. So
it's a little smaller.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but what I've always stuck with Fiskars is that super splitting axe right there that you see me using.
Definitely super splitter.
It works so good, as I've said, I've never used nothing that compare. And I know some guys give it a hard time over the handle, but honestly, I don't know. I don't feel a big difference in that fiberglass and wood. I truly do not, honestly. If I was to close my eyes and you would have gave that to me in a wood one, I'd probably feel somewhat of a difference, but nothing significant at all. And so I really like that axe. And then the head on it too, honestly, I don't think anybody's going to beat that design on the head of the Fiskars. I truly don't. I think people will mimic it. I've already seen other companies that have made pretty much the same design as the Fiskars. Husqvarna is one of them. Husqvarna makes a splitting axe that has a very similar head to that Fiskars, but the handle is much shorter and the head's a little heavier. And to me, that's not what I like at all. I don't like a heavier head and a shorter handle. I like a lighter head with a good profile and a longer handle. Where I split from angles like that all the time, I've kind of shown it in a video before. When you've got a shorter handle, you've got to bend over a lot more, and that's not something I want to do. So that Fiskars is perfect. And I see guys too, like they'll get splitting axes with very heavy heads or like 5.5 pounds. I mean, it's not necessary. I've proven that with this Fiskars. I have. So that's where force comes in. The amount of force that you can exert. If you can, like they say, speed plus strength equals power. I always kind of have a hard time getting that one out. But speed plus strength equals power. So if you are able to generate power naturally, you don't need a real heavy head. You don't. And I find that the profile, does the work, and then the force that you put behind it is what really does the work. Because as you've seen, I've split some huge rounds of hardwood down the middle, and believe me, I know that splitting hardwood down the middle is not the easier way. I know that. I get that a lot from people all the time, or quite a bit over the time that I've had my YouTube channel, which is probably around 1.5 years now coming up on it, which is kind of hard to believe in a way that it's went that fast. But I've got many comments talking about, hey, it's way easier to chop the sides off. And I know maybe some of them guys are trying to give me advice, and I appreciate that, but I am very well aware of that. The down the middle are for a challenge. That's what they're for. And another thing too, the down the middle display how good that Fiskars really is. Because I'm splitting big rounds of hardwood down the middle, which is harder to do. Believe me, I know. It's much easier to get the sides off. But I'm showing what that axe can do. So like lots of guys will talk about, you need a maul and you need this and you need that. But I've had lots of Russian men comment and say you need a cleaver. I guess that's what they call their mauls or cleavers in Russia over that way. I think they call them cleavers. Because I've got a lot of comments from some of them guys talking about how I needed a heavier cleaver, and mine was a toy and it was junk, and it was, well, I've said it many times before, and I've always just tried to be honest with that Fiskars. You've seen me use it a lot. The reason I use it a lot is because it works. When I pick other axes up lots of times and I see how much they're sticking, and even axes that I would consider splitting axes, and I see how much they're sticking and just how they're not as comfortable. They're as far as hitting the angles go, usually the handles are a little shorter, and the Fiskars, I always want to go back to it pretty quick, because I'm a guy I have little patience with stuff like that. Firewood is hard enough as it is. I don't want to be using an axe or maul or anything that's going to make my job any harder. A maul, for one thing, to me, it's too much weight when you're swinging it a lot like this, especially from angles as you see me doing here. But now if you get a good splitting axe, you can do that for hours, and taking breaks here and there. And you can do it all day, really, taking breaks here and there. You can. I've done it, but I wouldn't want to be doing that with a maul or even a heavy splitting axe. I don't feel it's any necessary to have any heavier than the axe right there. And I feel like I've proven that, I'm not just, I'm backing up what I'm saying here. I'm showing you with evidence, this footage. And I've had lots of guys even try to tell me my footage was fake. Well, you've sped your video up, you're moving too fast, you sped that up, or that round looks like rubber, it's fake, or you split that round from the bottom, all kinds of things like this, But I'm showing you what I'm doing, the axe is what it is. That the rounds are not made of rubber. I'm not speeding the video up. If I have sped it up, you'll be able to tell, Sometimes I'll speed the videos up in my long videos just to make the time go by quicker because they're so long. But no, when you see me doing these challenges and stuff where I'm trying to go fast, no, that's not sped up. And I'm not trying to say that in a bragging way, but I'm saying with the right axemanship, you train yourself. It's something you can increase yourself in. And different people are going to be different. Everybody's going to be different, of course, just like in anything else. You're going to have different levels, skill levels, and different physical capabilities and stuff like that. And all that comes into play when it comes to physical work. Like I've heard men say lots of times, it's just technique. It's just technique. No, it is technique. Yes, I agree, but it's also power. Hand splitting is for sure also power. Just that, and good technique can create more power for you. It can, but power definitely helps with hand splitting. Now, right here, I'm splitting poplar, and that's why you see me using that particular axe. I wouldn't be really using that axe probably a whole lot. I have used it in oak, but it doesn't do as well in oak. And you don't have to use as much force when you're hitting woods like that right there, as you can see. I try to use as much force as I think is necessary, and when you can kind of feel it when you're doing it. Once you kind of start splitting the wood, it's just kind of a natural feeling thing, and you hit it and you see how much the wood gives, and then the next piece you kind of use that same amount of force maybe, and then if you get to a tougher piece, then maybe you'll kind of up the force a little bit, maybe swing a little harder. But it's all about balancing your power and managing that, because if not, when you're doing these long splitting sessions, maybe most people probably won't unless they do their own wood and they do it with an axe. But me, I've done it for a living now for the past 5 years, and the reason I say that so much is because what I'm saying is I split a lot of firewood in that time. You all seen me split a lot on here, and that's just been this past year. I've done this for the past 5 years now, and I've split a lot of firewood in that time. And other years that I had was busier than this year that you all have seen me do. This wasn't my busiest year. And so I've had a lot of experience, and that's why I feel plenty comfortable talking on hand splitting firewood. There's other things I don't feel comfortable speaking on, as far as tree felling and stuff like that. I'll tell you my experience, but I ain't the kind of guy that you probably need to go and learn from when it comes to tree felling. I've learned a lot of what I know from other men, and feel somewhat comfortable, with it. But I'm not an arborist and I'm not a logger, but I am a firewood man, and I have been now for the past 5 years. And I am an axeman, and I feel like I've grown significantly in my axemanship, and just as anybody else can. So I feel plenty capable of talking with confidence on when it comes to hand splitting. And so I'm not biased when it comes to what kind of handle you got. If you don't like firewood or fiberglass, don't use fiberglass if you don't like it. But me personally, I'm not going to let a fiberglass handle keep me from using the best splitting axe that I can. So I'm not going to have that type of bias. Yeah, I like wooden handles. I do. I really enjoy wooden handles. I love putting axes together. But by far, if I had to keep doing this for another 5 years, as I have for the past 5 years, and split for production, which means a lot to a man when you're supporting a family with this type of work. This is how you're making your money for your family. So I would pick the Fiskars. That's the axe that I would go with. Hands down, I would pick the Fiskars. There's nothing else that even comes close as of yet. And I've used quite a bit of different patterns and heads and mauls and double bits, single bits, Like that axe right there is a pretty good splitting axe right there. But it's, when compared to the Fiskars, and it's got a very nice handle on it. I really enjoy that axe, and I love in the right wood swinging that axe. That right there is poplar. But when it comes to getting into the tougher woods, I'd pick the Fiskars any day over that axe, any day. Now, if you were to put the Fiskar's head, on a wooden handle, I would be just happy with that, as long as the wooden handle performed as well as that fiberglass one, because I love the length of the fiberglass handle, and I love how it feels too. The palm swell on it, simple design, that works. They really nailed it with Fiskars. Try it out for yourself. I had a guy here recently as well in the comments. I think he was kind of trying to be kind of smart alecky, but he said something about does arm wrestling help or something like that, because I'd mentioned, I think, how my dad was good at arm wrestling, how he was strong. And yeah, I definitely believe power helps. Strength helps when it comes to hand splitting. So that's what the guy was asking me, and when I answered his question, he never did reply, because it wasn't that he was wanting to answer, he was just wanting to kind of be a smart aleck. And I had a feeling that that's what it was. But I think that power helps. Most definitely it does. It 100% does. You go out here and get a 10-ton hydraulic splitter, and you put it up against a 32-ton hydraulic splitter in the tough woods, and you're going to see that power makes a significant difference. I had a 27-ton, and there was pieces of oak I put on it couldn't do nothing with. It would just sit there and make a sound, and I would have to take it off of there. And so, yeah, definitely power helps, without a doubt. And I'm not trying to brag about my power or anything in saying that. I'm not. But yeah, power helps. Speed helps. When it comes to physical work, anything, the better that you can be physically, which is speed and strength, and agility, nimbleness, sure-footedness, all that stuff, Any endurance. Endurance is huge. Because I've met guys that are strong. What I've heard someone say before, and it kind of, honestly, I've kind of found this to be true when I really thought about it. But I can't remember where I read this or heard it, but it was saying that lots of people that are very strong don't have very good endurance. And lots of people that have very good endurance aren't very strong or something of that nature. And I've kind of thought about that, and I've thought, well, yeah, I have seen these guys that are, really big and strong guys, but they get tired really easy, So that's not really beneficial when it comes to physical work. And then I've seen little guys that are have very good endurance, but sometimes they may not have the power to get the job done or even do the job, I've had jobs before that you had to try out for, and some of the people that went with me in the group could not even do the job. That's why they made you try out for it, was to see if you could do it, because it was very physical work. But my point is, and that's something I feel I'm good at in both ranges, honestly. And I'm not trying to brag about myself, but before I even, got bigger, when I was around 170 pounds solid before, and 200 pounds solid, and then I was very strong for my size, and could go, as far as endurance went, I could go for a long time. Without a doubt, my endurance has improved. And I see that improvement, like whenever the summer season would come, for the past 5 years, I would go into lawn care and landscaping and wouldn't hand split too much. And then when it come back time, getting to firewood season for me, which is usually around August here, and I'll be starting in the heat here in Kentucky, which gets pretty hot and humid. I could tell a difference instantly when I would go back to hand splitting. The endurance was not there, but I still had that same mentality. I have the mentality to push myself. I've worked tired many times, and when you push yourself when you're tired to a certain extent, and you know how to kind of control that, you know how to read your body, because when you're pushing yourself too hard sometimes, and you can do it easily in the heat especially. But if you'll push yourself at times, you'll see yourself grow in endurance pretty quick. And so usually within a month or so, I feel like my endurance is there with the firewood once I get into it. Even with all the weight that I've got on me right now, 280 pounds is what you've been seeing me at for the past couple months until here recently. I lost some weight. But even now I'm still around 265 or so, or maybe a little more than that. And at that weight, my endurance is good for that weight. So I feel I am blessed as far as endurance and the power goes. And you'll see that sometimes in men. And I have seen that in men sometimes, and I've found that men like that are very good with physical work. I'm not trying to say that to brag about myself. I'm just a man. I can be brought down at any time, and there's lots of other men that are very hard workers and stuff as well. But I definitely believe, to answer that man's question, yes, I do believe that power helps, strength helps for sure when it comes to physical work, period, really. And endurance as well. Endurance is very important, because if you're very strong, it doesn't matter if you're strong, if you're only strong for 10 minutes, that's not going to do you a lot of good. And it doesn't matter if you've got real good endurance, but you're not physically capable of getting the work done, because firewood is more than just splitting as well. For me, it's been lots of lifting and loading and bending and pulling and all kinds of stuff. Carter's seen me do all kinds of stuff, be in some hard positions and stuff. And he's done lots of physical work with me as well. So I think there's a good balance there. You don't have to be the strongest guy, and you don't have to have the best endurance, but I think you need to have a balance. Because if you're really strong and your endurance is no good, then firewood, especially hand splitting like this, is probably not going to work too well for you. And if your your endurance is really good, but you don't have the physical capabilities to do some of this, because some harder woods, it takes some power to get them split. You may not be able to split that wood in time, to get your orders filled and stuff like that. So, but I love firewood. It's something I always want to do. It's something I enjoy very much. It's hard to believe looking at this footage right here. These are shorts I've been adding now for the past year or so, and there's almost 30 minutes worth of them, it's saying. And I left a lot of shorts out, and there's lots of footage I didn't record as well over this time period that me and Carter went and did. But he's really enjoying it too, starting, and I'm excited to get him that Fiskars, because I think he'll really like that. I think he does need one that's a little bit heavier, and then with the profile on that Fiskars, I think he'll really like that. Oh yeah, well, not just a good starter's axe. It's a good Fisker is just a good axe. I mean, it really is. It's definitely good for beginners too. You know, I've heard guys say that and make it sound like it's only good for beginners. But no, Fiskers are. I've done it for a business. I have. I've done it for that's how I made my money now for the past 5 years or so in the winter. You know, is Firewood and Fiskers is what I've used.
The Fiskers paid for itself.
And the fiberglass don't bother me. I can't even feel a big difference in my hands. As I said, with fiberglass, that to me is just pride. When I hear men talking about they're not going to use it, you won't see a fiberglass handle in their hand. To me, that's pride. Unless you're allergic to fiberglass or something, that's pride to me. But anyways, this video almost is coming to an end. Me and Carter's sitting out here in the van, kind of talking about it. I told him I wanted him to join me and kind of talk in a little bit and just kind of go over these memories and stuff like that watching these. But I've talked just about the whole video. This was pretty recent. You remember that, don't you?
Yeah.
This was when I was trying to do what was that, the Guinness World Record challenge. There's the wood from it right there that I'm hitting.
Really?
Yeah, you were out there. I think you are out there somewhere in the yard. But anyways, if you're watching this video and you want to improve your axemanship, it's something I love very much, and I see lots of advice online and lots of it that I disagree with. And as I said, I've got experience to speak on this, you know, as far as men's technique with how they bend and move, and the best. Like sometimes I hear them say this is the best way to do it, and this is the best way, and I just, when I look at them, I don't agree with that. But what I would go with, you know, is if you're going to take advice from somebody, like me personally, if I'm going to take advice from somebody, I'm going to look at their skill level, honestly. Before I take advice from them, I'm going to see how well that's working for them. And then I'll go off of that. That's kind of who I've tried to follow, is people that when I look at their skill level, you know, it kind of confirms their words, you know. It shows that what they're saying is true. They know what they're talking about. But there's lots of people that if you ain't careful, and maybe they're trying to learn as well, and I'm not trying to say it in an offensive way, that may not necessarily be showing you the best way. And I'm not saying I am either. I'm just saying that I feel like I've learned a lot in the time that I've done it, and I've got really comfortable with hand splitting. But anyways, this video is about over. We appreciate you watching. God bless.